Hey, I'm Amber Aziza, and this is my journey through the fog. So it's been 2 weeks since I made my first post about my journey through depression, and I've had a lot happen in those 2 weeks. First of all, thank you to everyone who's commented, everyone who texted, DM'd me, sent me voice notes. I really, really appreciate it. And the overall messages I've received have been, A, keep going, like you're doing great. But B, thank you for sharing, because this is giving me permission to share what I'm going through and to be vulnerable with my family and my friends. So I'm gonna keep doing it, and until we're on the other side of the fog, we're gonna keep going through it together. So I told you last time I posted that I was struggling with depression, and I was crying nonstop. I was being triggered. I couldn't work. And a lot of this was a result of a lot of changes in my business, changes in just my life. I've got a lot going on, right? I've got so many different things happening, dealing with a visa situation, still dealing with it, still annoyed and dealing with it. Home office, looking at you. But what I did was, the day after I made that recording, I went to my GP, my doctor's office, and I told her what was going on. I explained to her, listen, I'm going through all of these different things. I'm in therapy. It's not working. I am depressed and sad, and I can't seem to cope. And so she agreed that medication was probably the solution. So she put me on a low dose of Zoloft. And when she told me to take it, y'all, when she said take it, she was like, the first 2 days you're gonna be worse before you're better. So when you take it, make sure that you can start taking it on a day that you can have someone with you for 48 hours. And that terrified me, because if you remember from the last video, I don't like taking medication. I come from a historical family history of addiction, and I just thought of taking medication regularly. I don't love it, right? I have lupus, so of course I'm used to taking certain medications, but medications where you can become addicted to, I was not on that vibe. That was not what I wanted to do. So to have my doctor say, make sure someone's with you when you take it the first 2 days, because the thoughts can get pretty bad and low, made me a nervous wreck. So I waited until my partner could have a couple days off and just be here with me, and he did. And the good news is nothing happened. Honestly, when I took the medication, I took it at 7 a.m. for the first time, and I laid back down and I fell asleep. That's really the biggest side effect. I've just been so sleepy. Like, my body is still adjusting. I'm struggling. I'm sleeping until like 11 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a lot, especially for someone who's usually up by 5. So I took it, I fell asleep, and I woke up. And the first thing I said to my partner, because he said, how do you feel? I said, it's so quiet. I did not realize that I had a running narrative in the back of my mind of all the things I'm failing at, all the things I'm not doing right, all the things I could have done differently and should have done differently were running like, one of those old-timey radios. I say old-timey, but I was alive when they were around, right? Where you have to turn the knob. I can't remember the actual transition radio, whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The ones with knobs where you gotta turn it to get to the right station. And you have in between all of this white noise. I had a lot of white noise in the back of my mind running between these radio stations that were saying how awful I was. I was being so harsh on myself in just a running narrative. And when I woke up after taking the medication, it was gone. And I was just like, oh, I can breathe. And I didn't realize it was there until I'd actually taken the medication and it was gone. So for me, it was worth it to be on the medication for it. Now, I will say, I am a bit concerned that I am feeling like I'm going through the motions of emotions, and that's the best way I can describe it. So before I admitted that I was depressed, I was going through the motions of emotions. So basically, I had trained myself to recognize and acknowledge that when something was funny, I should laugh. When something is sad, I should make some sort of emotional, like, oh, this is sad. Like, I was putting myself, it was like I was an actor on stage, and I was playing a part, probably for a good part of a year, where I trained myself to react emotionally as I was supposed to, because I was just so sad all the time. So I didn't want to show that I was sad all the time. So instead, I'd act like I was happy, and I would just be like, yeah, everything's great. And I trained myself on the emotions of emotion. What I'm not thrilled about with the medication is that has not gone away. In fact, I feel like I'm almost more aware of it now, simply because I'm not feeling necessarily anything. I'm not feeling sad. I watched a movie that makes me cry all the time, Inside Out. Highly recommend it if you just want to know how your emotions work and get a better view and feeling of what depression feels like and looks like internally. It's a really great movie. It's a kids movie. Highly recommend. But I watch that movie and I cry every time I see that movie. Even when I was feeling great, I cried when I saw it. It's emotional scenes in that movie. And I saw it this time after taking the medication, and I felt nothing. Not even to the point where I was like, what was I sad about? What was making me sad about this? Like, I knew the section of the movie was supposed to be sad, but I wasn't feeling it. And I had a friend call me and tell me some really bad news about a family member. And I knew that I should feel sad, but I didn't. And so my doctor says that will even out. My therapist says that will even out, and it's just my body getting used to the serotonin surplus. So I'm hoping it will, because one of the things that I love about myself is that I've always been incredibly empathetic, and that I've always been able to show my emotion freely. And so to be in a space where I'm having to feel like I have to fake it, I don't like that. And I don't like feeling a level of numbness towards emotion. I want to feel. So I am hoping that subsides a bit. Other than that, though, honestly, after taking the meds, I felt more like myself. I feel more like myself than I have in probably a year. I'm more productive. I'm able to get things done. I feel like I can have a conversation without feeling personally like everyone can see that I'm not doing well. And that's great. And I'm still doing therapy. I switching to a new therapist starting tomorrow. I have my first appointment tomorrow. I'm switching to a new therapist, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapist. I'm also trying tapping therapy. And I say this to say medication isn't the only solution, right? There are therapies out there. There are tons and tons of therapies that can help you. And so this part is specifically to those in my Black and brown community. We as a whole tend to shy away from therapy. And I beg you not to. I have a friend who's going through something very similar to me. He's struggling with depression. He's struggling with anxiety. And yet he said, I don't want to go to therapy. Like, I don't feel comfortable going to therapy. And I think what folks don't realize is there are so many different kinds of therapy that if you research it, you can find the one that's right for you. So what I want to convey is, as a whole, in our community, we tend to brush mental health under the rug. We tend to ignore it. We tend to keep it hush-hush. If you have a family member who's struggling with mental health, it's like, shh, don't tell anybody. It's supposed to be a secret. No one's supposed to know that the family's not perfect. And in a way, me posting my first video felt very much like, oh gosh, Am I going to get a call from one of my family members saying like, shh, you're not supposed to tell people you're not feeling well? I didn't, but also probably because I didn't send a video to them. So that might be it too. But I think we've got to get out of the stigma of mental health issues being bad and making you somehow like a freak of nature. I was not at a point of being ready to unalive myself, but the thoughts were running in my mind of what would happen if I were to. Who would be would anyone be upset if I were to? And they were uncontrollable thoughts. They weren't thoughts that I was just like, let me think about it. I don't even like to think about it now that I'm on the meds. I can't even force my brain to go there and think about it because it's like, oh, why are we going there? No, come back over here to the happy side. And so I know that had I not gotten medical intervention, I would have gone deeper into that depression. And I'm still depressed. This isn't saying the meds are perfect and I'm great and I'm wonderful again. I'm still depressed, but I know that had I not taken the medication, I wouldn't be where I am now. I would be deeper into depression. I would be thinking those thoughts in a step further. So I say this to the people of color community. Y'all, we got to get over the stigma when it comes to mental health. You're not a freak of nature because you're depressed or you're dealing with anxiety or you have negative thoughts. You're not a freak of nature if you're bipolar or if you're suffering from borderline personality disorder or schizophrenic. You're not. These are ailments that have been around for years and years and years, and we've got to start looking at them like we look at lupus, like we look at cancer, like we look at even addiction. We can't control it, and we need help for it. And the more we pull away from talking about it openly, the more we will find that people will continue to unalive themselves because they don't feel comfortable sharing their struggle. So I'm going to keep sharing my journey through the fog. I'm going to keep sharing how I'm feeling, what I'm doing to get better, because it's important to me that someone else sees this and knows, okay, Amber's going through it. If she can go through it and she can acknowledge what she's going through, I can find someone in my life to share what I'm going through as well, so that I can make it to the next year, so that I can make it to the next decade. I pray that anyone seeing this that's feeling the way that I feel gives yourself grace and space to know and understand that, yes, it feels really crummy right now. And yes, you don't have control over those thoughts, but there is help available in so many forms, and keep at it. And once you get that help, don't stop getting the help. That's something that I think I read a lot about before I took the meds. I read a ton to figure out like what's going on with it, what is it going to do to your body. And the biggest thing I read was that often people take the medication, they feel better, and then they take themselves off of it because they feel like, well, I feel better, so I'm good. And then they end up having this nosedive, this swan dive into deeper depression. And I don't want to do that. So I won't be taking myself off of it. I will let my doctor help me and my therapist help me determine when the right time to wean myself off of it will be. But help is what I needed and help is what I got. So I'll share with you in a couple weeks how I'm feeling. Hopefully this numbness, this motion of emotion will go away and I'll be back to my normal self. But if not, I will share that with you too. So with that said, I'm going to go walk my dog Chloe. Have a good one. Bye.